with all this shit today. Hey, we're live.
Welcome, everybody. The Week 5 edition 2017 Web.com podcast. And pretty typical little weekend. Not a whole lot going on. Pretty quiet Tuesday.
Usual web week.
Yeah.
Tuesday, not much going on.
Oh, wait a minute.
Weather was very fallish today.
Yeah, there was weather. I feel like
Yeah.
there's something else maybe that we're forgetting about. Is it?
Oh, a massive web controversy.
Oh yeah, the massive Fallout controversy scandal of 2K17. That's right.
It's not a web year without one.
That's oh man, guys. So pretty much
Where do we start?
One of the bigger I don't even know what to call it. Scandal.
Might as well call it a scandal. That's what the people want.
Scandal sounds nice. So Web.com scandal from this weekend. So I feel like we might this probably isn't true, but I feel like we had some outside people following along with the scandal.
We did.
And they may even choose to listen to the podcast since they know that it's going to be a juicy one. So for the sake of those people, if they are indeed listening, and for the sake of everybody else, just because, let's talk about what happened this weekend. Before we get into any games and breakdowns and anything, let's just talk about it.
I like that web kind of turned into its little drama reality show for this podcast.
It really helped the content. It's just...
Oh, yeah.
So this weekend, we had two instances of teams failing to put out a complete lineup. And unfortunately, what happened is both of those games were decided because of those decisions. That only escalated what came next. We could take that part out. Like, these games could have been blowouts, and it would have been like, well, you guys, get your head out of your ass, but it's fine.
It's like we got strikes coming, and it would have been pretty much brushed underneath the rug.
Right. But because those decisions influenced games and kind of big games, there was a massive scandal which unfolded over the last 24-hour period of time. And so Calvin chose to start a tight end who was listed as inactive on Friday, 2 days before game day. And he was aware of it, according to him, and he just didn't change it.
Mm-hmm.
I started a inactive cornerback who was ruled out on Sunday. And that ultimately influenced my game. Fucking cornerback.
Cornerback.
So this prompted me and Brock, the commissioners of Web.com, to have to take the law into our hands and say, are our policies here in Web up to date? And are we ready to do something about what happened? And what we came up with is that not all offenses.
I want to point out something quick with the timetable of it, because I think that got kind of lost today with everything. Was Calvin and Parker's game was decided Sunday night already. So a lot of what we discussed was discussed before your game became decided that close. That. I think that even happened, you posted your first post originally, the one that got cut off at 7:30 last night, I believe, if I remember right.
I honestly don't remember.
I just think that a lot of what we started, once our discussion started, was after Calvin and Parker's game had ended in that ridiculous fashion with the controversy. Right. So I think that's just something to keep in mind.
It definitely Yeah, I mean, you're right. That game was,
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately it came down to garbage time Hopkins. And it was over after that game ended with a 1.4 or something point victory. So yeah, we had conversations after that had happened. And then unfortunately, the Monday night game also had some of those things involved. But I think that when we were discussing, what we wanted to do about things, we knew that, we had the 3-strike policy implemented. We have kicked out an owner using the policy before, so it's not something that is foreign to people. But we also decided that, maybe not all things are created equal. And this is where we saw the backlash, and this is where we saw the scandal unfold, is the new ideas that, some roster inactive spots are basically more of an offense than another one. And the way that we define that, unfortunately, came down to a poor choice of adjective. Pretty much, that's what honestly caused most of it, was just a wrong adjective. We labeled it as key player, which everybody interpreted as more important. And that was never the intent with the key player designation. Neither you or me, Brock, ever said the words more important in those discussions. It was solely based on the fact that those players are more readily available generally for a given team. Like, most of us have multiple wide receivers, multiple running backs, at least one quarterback, at least one tight end on the bench. And that's just something that is constant. That is something that all teams have all the time. As opposed to a position where typically you pick somebody up to fill in for an inactive week.
Which you usually do at the D-line, cornerback, and safety positions to a certain extent.
Right. And that's not I'm sure that there are teams out there that have, safeties and D linemen on their bench. I am one of them. I have a D lineman that's typically on my bench. But it's not generally the case. And I think that most teams could agree that when your kicker is on a bye or is hurt, or your cornerback is on a bye or is hurt, or safety or any of these other positions, you have to go pick one up. And we've all run into a situation where we didn't want to drop any of our players. And that's not an excuse either. You have to fill those spots. It was my responsibility to fill the cornerback spot, and I didn't.
But I think your scenario to me is like the perfect way that we can define this, where like you have a questionable corner. You don't want to pick up a corner at the moment and drop like a bench piece, maybe like a flyer that you've been keeping. So you kind of wait on it, and it's still your responsibility on game day. And that's why you'll still get a strike and why you still wanted to give yourself the strike. But it just goes to show that not all of these lineup decisions are created equal.
Right.
Of other factors coming into. It's like, I guess I kind of had a similar situation to Calvin this week, where my tight end got called out like 2 hours before game day. And if I didn't have a tight end on my bench and I was out doing something, and I think I actually was, the only reason I could make like a switch that fast is because I just had one on my bench, which most people do.
See, and that's what the thought process was. And I think it was just we named it the wrong thing, and it gave people the wrong impression. So I think we're going to have to go back and consider changing what that is actually referred to eliminate any kind of future confusion, because I think that the reasons that we came up with it in the first place make sense. And I think that it's something that needs to stay within the framework of the league. Obviously, it was a tough situation because it wasn't something that we had already had implemented, and that's another reason why there was a lot of backlash to our decisions, was because people said you can't enforce a policy after it's been instated. For the most part, I think that is true, and we ultimately we rescinded the penalty on Kelvin. But I think that we started the conversation. It wasn't about overhauling the rules. It was about how do we want to handle Kelvin's situation. And that's what we came up with. And then eventually that turned into, okay, let's make this a rule. Whether or not that's different or not, it doesn't really matter, because obviously it doesn't matter anymore. It's not going to affect Kelvin. But I think that was the thought process that went into that decision.
Another thing with that too is when we were deciding that, like, there's a decent amount of anger coming from the decision, like in the group chat, when that game was officially decided. So,
Yeah.
And we had been kind of, I guess you could say, lackadaisical with the rules. Like, we kind of didn't have anything written up. Like, we kind of just taking it week by week, basically, and no one's really tracking it. And so we kind of felt like we needed to kind of like make up for that in a way. It probably wasn't the best way to go about it, but that was at least my thinking, like, at the time.
Right. And I mean, we have owners, in the league, Caleb being one of them, that they might not even be clear on these policies, because when we made the 3-strike rule, that was before Caleb was in the league. That was before Carter was in the league. And so, it was important for us to get that onto paper and actually have something that people can go to and understand why they're being punished in the way that they're being punished. And I think now that we have that, it's going to eliminate a lot of the confusion. I know that there was some opinion, and I know we didn't hear from all owners of the league either. We only heard from like 3. But the idea that a first-round pick is too significant. Let's just start with a second offense. So just a normal second strike. I don't think that's true, because if you do this one time, you are obviously informed that you have 1 strike, and you still do not take it into your own hands to ensure that you are putting out a complete lineup, or at least notifying the commissioners about any problem circumstances. There's no excuse for that, and you should be punished for it. And people use the example of, taking away a franchise player from a terrible team. I don't think a terrible team would ever even come close to letting that happen, because they understand the stakes.
Yeah.
So that is the reason for the policy, is to make sure that teams not only are putting out a lineup that is complete every single week, but also they have it in the back of their mind that it is very important to do that. You're not just going to get, oh, well, come on, don't do that one again. So.
Yeah, that was your first text to me, actually, when it initially happened, is like, I don't know how to proceed with this other than, hey, don't do that again.
Right.
Which is kind of the situation where we were put into, and we had a lot of angry people because it affected playoff implications. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I know there would have been negative reactions if we would have just came in like, oh, don't do that again.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. It's not the first web scandal. And I even made a snarky comment to you, Brock, saying, we haven't had a league uproar in a while. But no, I think that this week at least was a wake-up call. Now that Kelvin is not going to be formally punished with any kind of draft pick, removal or anything like that. I think everybody can just kind of, take it for what it is and understand that, we have these policies now. And, I think that it is still important that you and I review it and make sure that, these are things that we're still comfortable with, or anything that we might need to change, which we will do. And, we'll go forward from there. But the bottom line in all of this is, set your lineup. And it's embarrassing for me that I have to be one of the people that is, involved in this week, because clearly you and I have a very strict set of rules that has been conveyed for years and years and years. And now in, our biggest, event like this since Judy was kicked out of the league, I'm involved in it, and it's not acceptable for me to be in this position. And I think that, I want everybody to know that there's no excuses for me. There's no excuses for Calvin, and we're both going to move forward from it and learn from it. And the entire league should do the same. We shouldn't run into this problem anymore. I know that all of our owners are committed and they're willing to do what we ask within the framework of the rules and in the spirit of good competition. And I think that, we're going to learn from this week. This was a pretty, it's a pretty bad week for Webb, pretty bad look.
Got the public involved in the drama.
Yeah.
Like, people are like, oh God, what, this prestigious league, trouble in paradise.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's important to, like, if we do have the major and minor penalties, if you will, call it that for now, that anything on game day is always going to be a minor penalty.
That's a great point.
If it's decided on game day. So you don't have to worry about if you somehow miss like a last second start sit. And if you can text us before, like, we'll probably end up not even giving a penalty.
Right.
If, like, you're aware of it. Yeah.
If you reach out to one of us or to the group chat or however, as long as you are, saying like, I can't get to my lineup, I know that this player's out, like, we can do something about that.
Yeah. And we can even do it after too. Like, we can.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And, that we ran into the situation with the weekend up north and such. We can do that. We just need to know ahead of time. It's just, you can't come to us, after the Sunday games are over and be like, well, I couldn't really get to it. I mean, if you get to us ahead of time, we'll take care of it and it won't be a problem. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
So
hopefully we can move on from that and, finish out the season strong with no more problems. I'm pretty sure that we will, given the publicity that this has gotten. Yeah. And after all of that, we got some games to talk about.
Ooh.
Caleb, I'm gonna give you the opportunity if you wanted to say anything regarding your first Webb.com scandal.
Well, it was quite an experience, Got up today, checked Messenger, saw Dan had said some things, looked over, Tim had said some things, like, ooh, maybe we can spice this up a little.
Whenever that combo gets going,
yeah,
Webb and notorious. There's the notorious Korf and Brock versus Dan and Tim and Webb.
So I figured I'd get that out to the public. We have a few followers out there that might not know what's going on. So it just escalated into me just texting people, seeing what their opinions were on stuff, and I don't know, it was just a lot of fun. Ended up,
the Webb.com reporters definitely. It's not your average 9 to 5. You got to be alert and aware at all times.
Round the clock, I was checking up on people, but I don't know, a lot of fun. I got a controversy of my own, and covering the controversy with the what was
a little bit of an ethics issue here.
It wasn't my intent to hurt any feelings out there in the
You know, that was just some cold, hard journalism.
That's what I was trying to say. I understand where Dan was coming from, but I just had to get the facts out of the people. And, you know, that just stirred the pot a little bit, you know, got it going. That's what I was going for. And Tim seems to be okay with it. Hopefully Tim and Korf can remain friends after this this fiasco. Don't want to ruin that friendship, but.
No, it's not like Tim's ever done anything wrong in this league or anything. Worst season ever. Okay. So, yeah, we had some games, and as we already mentioned, unfortunately, some of them did not really go the way that they could have gone and maybe should have gone, but that doesn't change the fact that they happened, and now we have to talk about the implications. So let's start with the game of the week, the Big Five brawl between the Bruisers with the Bitches. Obviously it's been covered. The game would have gone differently had I started a cornerback, but Dan gets a win this week, knocks me off, and I'm now at 4-1. He's at 3-2. What do we think about Dan?
Dan.
I will say that he's second in WIB now. And, you know, he gets a week high this week. So clearly the Dan team that we ranked number 1 in the preseason is showing up.
He did it with a subpar Le'Veon game, which we kind of labeled him dependent on him. So that's good. AJ Green, wide receiver 1 this week. That's got to feel good for Dan to get that back.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm trying to see where his points came. Oh, Melvin back too.
Melvin had a huge game. Yep.
Rodgers.
Yeah, for Rodgers.
He had a lot of bounce back games after we were calling people out. So
yeah, but that's still the wide receiver is kind of weird. Sammy put up a dud.
What does anybody know? Like, there was like things saying, but like during the week that he was like sick, but he did play. That was a joke, right, from Dan in the group chat.
Yeah, that was a joke.
Okay.
Yeah, he played 56 of the Rams 71's offensive snaps.
All right.
Only got 4 times.
He pulled a decoy type move.
All right.
Which Dan's receivers are notorious for.
That's true. So I did not get a chance to total up defensive and offensive scoring this week, so I'm not exactly sure on that. It does look like Dan's defense had another solid week. I wouldn't call it a great week, but definitely a solid week again, and made up for some of those duds on the offensive side, aka Watkins.
Yeah. Had a 3-man show on defense there.
Yeah.
So,
no.
I mean, losing, obviously losing in this fashion is not what I wanted, but at the same time, I still posted the 8 WIB for this week, and still, obviously this is, I think, what is it here? My highest scoring week of the season. So, it is what it is. I wasn't expecting to Brock this one and ride it out for 14-0 or anything. So if I have to lose, I guess I would rather lose with an 8 WIB.
Yeah. It was a weird game too, because it's like when I was watching like all the scores throughout the week, like Dan was like pretty much had you handled the whole day.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why it surprised me. Like all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I would have won if I would have started a corner. And I was like, really?
Well, that was the thing, was it didn't look like it was going to be close. And then Mr. Touchdown, Will Fuller, showed up again.
What the heck? Another 2 touchdown game.
So,
Catches.
2 catches, 2
2 catches, 2 TDs, 18-pointer.
6 catches this year, and 4 of them are touchdowns.
Isn't that how last year started off for him, though?
Yeah, the first 2 games last year, he had, I think, 4 touchdowns as well. And then he had, like, none and, like, 140 yards in the last whatever weeks. But, yeah, no, obviously it's kind of been a running theme that my team is a little bit thin on receiver. I'm somehow finding production right now. Des Bryant, not as bad as advertised. I know everybody kind of thought he was a pile of garbage now. Not bad. He is on bye week, though, this week, and I have no idea what to do.
Oh, God.
So there's that. But
So what are we? I want to start a QB controversy here.
Yeah.
I
don't think there should be. What's Stafford?
Mr. Watson getting the nod.
I'd like to formally announce live on the podcast that the team has been handed over to Deshaun Watson officially.
Oh.
He's already in the lineup.
That's what I like to hear.
That's the Browns. All right. Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah. Wow.
What a
I mean, I don't. I'm sure now that I start him, he'll have like a 10-point game, but he's had a pretty nice little start. So, yeah, it's pretty nice. Watt out for the season, though. He hasn't been great this year to begin with, so that, just a slap in the face.
It was one of those things, too, where you're probably, even though he hasn't been great, still a big blow. Like, you're expecting him to regain that form quick coming off injury, and now we're going to have to do this all over again next year.
Yep, exactly. And Travis Kelce with some concussion symptoms, and I just lost Charles Clay for multiple weeks. So I no longer have a tight end that isn't Adam Shaheen.
Are we going to have another tight end controversy?
Yeah, let's just do it. I want to get kicked out. I'm done.
Core position.
I'm done. All right. So, yeah. Like I said, Dan 3-2, and the other Big Five matchup this week, also the other controversial game this week.
Get him out of the way.
Let's just do it. Parker now 4-1, so record-wise tying me atop the Big Five, and the kid's still finding a way to win, even if it's Hopkins garbage time.
It is kind of unfortunate that this game turned into what it ended up being, like probably one of the biggest, most controversial game, might be the most controversial game in web history, where it should have been like the most amazing game.
Yeah, right.
If it was the exact same score, but we had a full lineups, it would have been like, wow, Parker just garbage timed Calvin to all hell and beat him by a point.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't believe, you're watching that game on Sunday night and it's just like, is this really going to happen? And it did.
Yeah.
Hopkins went crazy. But so I think it's funny though, because it ended up being a 1.4 point game, which you would imagine is one of the closest games ever in web, but it's not even in the top 10. So let's talk. We have 7 games that have been decided by under 1 point, which I honestly would not have guessed if you would have asked me.
That's why they keep the stats.
Yeah, exactly. So, obviously still a super close game. And flip side of this is Kelvin is now 1-4 after making a title game appearance. So clearly different season for Kelvin this year. The 7-7 that was broken last year is now looking like a nice little goal.
Yeah, we got trade news.
Oh yeah.
Caleb,
Michael Crabtree. Oh yeah, stats reporter.
Yes. What are you now? Are you just utility man?
Reporting
utility man. You're Craig Coulson.
I don't know.
I kind of like the reporting thing. I like the idea of quotes and stuff.
I might stick to reporting because I don't know. I'll throw in some random stats here and there.
Aren't you like a journalism major or something?
That is true.
You felt like you were a young god doing
it. Did feel like when I got that text from you, I smiled. I was like, "This is what web needed."
It was one smile in a day of rain.
I'm glad I could give that to the league. It was a dark day, but yeah, I think
you handled it with class, except for the one ethics issue.
Yeah, besides that whole thing.
Except for the major controversy. You're A-okay on the first day.
All right.
Yeah. So Calvin obviously dumping a pretty big piece that he acquired last year, which helped propel him to the title game. And now he flips him for a first back. So exact same trade, but in reverse, this time going to Tim.
And was it 2019?
It was 2019. Yes.
So a couple of years still.
Yes, it will not be this season.
But
still,
I like that trade for Calvin too. Like you get Crabtree for your title run there, and you end up only moving back 2 years in it first. So
yeah,
I think that's extremely worth it.
Yeah, solid trade. Also, solid trade for Tim. He needed help at receiver, and he got a very good one. So,
yeah, nice little win-win right there.
Yeah,
nice trade.
Yeah. Speaking of Tim, let's talk about the. We had the Big Five showdown this week, but we also had a Pac-5 showdown that got a little bit overshadowed, I think.
Just wait, I want to stir up some QB controversy first with Parker's team.
Oh yeah, do it.
Is Cam getting his team back this week? I don't know. Let's check.
Well,
I mean, can you really say no to what he's done in the last 2 weeks?
Incredible.
You can't. It's hard to say no to that.
He is the QB1 in the last 2 weeks. So after we all proclaimed him dead and Parker moved on,
now he's back with a vengeance.
Strikes me as the person who. He'll be so loyal to his Cam crush that he'll keep him on the bench just to see him do well.
You're not wrong. I could also see that.
Yeah. QB controversy. Let's say
we got them all over the league. QBs. Craziness. So, Brock, take us through your game this week. Lost to Tim.
Yeah. Never had a good feeling about this week from the moment Julio got hurt, even though he had a bye week anyway, it just put a bad omen on this week. Julio gets hurt. Then we got the Gronk hurt out of nowhere on Thursday. Hey, he's out. His thigh's broken. And I was like, oh man. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer week. That's never good. Unless it's the playoff run last year where he was in everyone. But let's forget about that. I still don't like Rudolph.
He had a nice game for you, man. Top 10 tight end.
But it was Monday night. It was already irrelevant. It actually made me mad that he scored. Sorry, I'm already out of it.
Wow, is he salty.
Yeah, it made...
Hey, let's not forget about George Kittle either.
Yeah. Oh,
the takeover.
That made me happy. I should have started George Kittle. Knew it.
Did you?
I did know it. But yeah, the part that makes me the most mad is my defense went off this week, and I ruined it with a terrible offensive performance because it's like, when is my defense going to go off again? I don't know.
Right? Yeah, it was a huge week from the D. Jalen Ramsey is a freak of nature.
Yeah, my highest scoring player was a corner, Corf.
Dude, don't remind me. Oh man,
we're just stirring the pot.
Stirring the pot, man.
We're stirring the pot.
I know. Thanks for that. So obviously Tim gets a massive victory, goes to 4-1 and is now Caleb, what are you now? 3-2?
Yep.
So he's got a 1-game lead on the Pac-5, but Odell Beckham Jr. My cornerstone is gone for the season. On a wide receiver core that was already a little weak, obviously he makes the trade for Crabtree and kind of patches the hole for right now, but you can't really truly replace Odell. So what do we think for Tim moving forward? Is this going to be a move or an injury that affects him going forward significantly, or is he going to be all right?
Oh, we got the injury music. That's why I do that every time. But yeah.
Odell for the year. Am I late?
But yeah, I mean, he acquired Crabtree, so I guess that fills the void a little bit. And the trade for Tyreek Hill also helps because really he traded for his entire receiving core: Tyreek Hill, Michael Crabtree, Randall Cobb. They weren't here when the season started, so kudos to him for building up that depth because he definitely needed it.
Because he had none.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he went out and, it was a thing preseason that he had a kind of weak wide receiver core outside of Odell and Ty. But
my rivalry with Tim has gotten to the point where I was sitting in my chair slightly like with a sly grin on my face as I watched Odell crying his eyes out. I feel really bad about that.
Oh my God. Jesus.
I felt bad though. After.
Okay, then it's okay.
A moment of weakness.
It's okay.
Like as I'm getting pounded on that week, I needed that little like ray of sunshine. Like, hey, you can still win the battle.
Odell's dead.
Yeah. Jesus. So, wow. Yeah. Brock, you're 2-3 right now, but at the same time, you are third in scoring.
So we keep saying, I feel like we have this discussion on the podcast each week. Everything's fine. When is everything not fine?
Yeah. I don't know.
I keep losing.
There's a massive like outlier in your point totals with the 230.
Skewing.
So it's a little bit skewed, but 2-3 at this point, it's fine. You're 1 game behind Caleb, 2 games behind Tim, and really all it takes is, you hit that Pac-5 play and you get some games in there, and it's not looking good. We expected Josh and Dave to be kind of the weaker teams in the league, but Caleb also a very weak team right now. Despite the fact that he picked up another win this week, but we'll get to that in a second. So, third in WIB and third in scoring. So, clearly it's, you're not like, this isn't like the defending champ, like what happened to him. Like he just hasn't gotten the victories. So, let's move to the, other Pac-5 game here before we get to the inter-conference game of the week. So Josh and Dave, they've almost like established like this rivalry between themselves,
just like they can have one.
Right. I mean, it's you see a Josh Dave game and you're like, oh damn, what's going down this week? Are either of them gonna break 100? So I'm sorry, guys.
Somebody did.
Well, no, those games are such a toss-up, though. Like those are harder. Those games are the hardest games to predict. Dave and Josh, like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's wide open.
Have no idea what's gonna happen.
Right. It's completely wide open. And this week it was Josh. So, the winless Josh team gets a W on the board. So we can't talk about Josh's team unless we're talking about Chris Hogan. Wow. Because I'm looking at an offense that is all single digits, a couple decimal scores, and Chris Hogan, 14.4.
Wide receiver 4.
The lone bright spot, obviously Devontae Parker got injured in the first quarter in that game. But the lone bright spot, at least this week, was Chris Hogan. And like Caleb just said, he is the wide receiver 4.
As a man who spent a 4th-round pick last year and had Chris Hogan on my bench for the entirety of the year, I'm super salty about it.
Mm-hmm. I feel like Chris Hogan's the kind of player that's like, he sat on waivers you had him on your team, you said, but even before that, like, he was kind of just like there. You're like, who's this Patriots receiver that might be good? Actually, he catches like one deep bomb a year.
Looking it up, I drafted him last year, like 2016, and I just looked, and actually it looks like I dropped him before our draft this year. So I actually had him for an entire year.
Wow.
Surprised me
Damn.
too.
That hurts.
It does.
And yeah, because I mean now, we obviously, Josh and Dave, like we're not talking about playoffs with these teams. We're talking about, where are they going to go to get better for next year and the years to come. And
all
Chris
these
Hogan.
Yeah, these injuries are really setting up well for them to sell these kind of people too.
Oh
Yeah.
Yeah. There's going to be a
jump on it.
There's going to be a definite market for Chris Hogan, and people are going to want, obviously as a team that is a little thin on receiver, I would be interested in Chris Hogan. I'm sure that maybe before this week, let me rephrase that. Tim was interested in Chris Hogan because he told me that he was going to get him at all costs or something similar to that.
At all costs. What does that even mean?
I don't know. It's Tim, so it's probably like a hand job in a Rice Krispie bar or something. But so
exactly
yeah.
what it is.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, Josh gets the win. Dave, we were making fun of him for starting Trent Taylor this week, but honestly, that was the best. So, got murdered by buys and started a bunch of white people and barely broke 100. So, who is the superior race?
Wow. Let's try and one up each other and who can just be more, what's the word? Inappropriate.
I did tell you that I grabbed a second podcast beer because I knew that this podcast would be a little bit too intense. So if I start to get a little bit weird, you know why.
Hey, McCaffrey scored a touchdown this week.
Hey. Yeah. Some life out of CMC, even though he had a 3-carry, 7-yard day.
5 catches, baby.
Yeah, that's what it's going to be, I think. But it is. We talked about this for like 3 weeks now, so I don't know if we really have to talk about it that much anymore. But the rushes for McCaffrey are, it's not what you want out of your second overall pick.
It's discouraging.
Yeah, but whatever. It's fine. It's so fine.
Dave doesn't need him to be good.
Yeah,
it's fine. He just wants to see some flashes.
Yeah. So, speaking of these Josh Dave games, which usually, or at least in recent history, have kind of come down to battle for the first overall pick. Dave moves within 1 game of the first overall pick sweepstakes.
Quietly, right now we have Josh in the lead. And we have dark horse Timothy,
what?
Carter's pick, who is currently tied in record and I think 7 points behind.
Yeah,
or in
I
front.
didn't realize Carter was
However you want to phrase it.
Yeah. Let's just talk about Carter because this was a team that was very middle of the pack, and it was scoring. It was scoring points, not huge points, but it was scoring points. But started 1-3 heading into this week. So obviously there was, some unluckiness maybe tied in there. But this week comes out and here we are. Sub-100 game. So first one of the season. And it's, I think, the first one for Carter, for the Luke/Carter franchise since 2015. So it's been a while.
This team really needs 25 points a game per week out of Greg Zuerlein, or it's not going to be good.
Only 3 from Zuerlein this week.
That'll do it.
I would compare this to Le'Veon Bell to Dan's team. It's Greg Zuerlein to Carter's team at this point.
I don't think that you're wrong, Brock, and it scares me. But Yeah, so there. I mean, obviously, there's bright spots here because we've talked about how Carter does have a talented roster. This was just a very, very poor week, and
Should happen.
Yeah, Diggs 0.4. Sterling Shepard was he was one of the Giants receivers that got destroyed. So Ajayi still hasn't got it going. Baby Andre, had like the third most offensive points for this team. So, love him. But yeah, I don't know. He's just Zach Ertz has been very, very good this year. So, I mean, if this team does end up as a seller, that could potentially be one of the pieces that would look to deal.
Been hearing a lot of really good things from people talking about Zach Ertz, like potential dynasty top 3 asset at tight end.
Yeah.
So this could be a cornerstone.
Well,
known for its cornerstones.
That's true. Honestly, I feel like the Zach Ertz thing has been going on like since the beginning of Webb. It was just like Zach Ertz is like the next big thing at tight end.
Yeah,
and if there's anything that we've learned about tight ends is that it takes a while, but here he is.
Good for Zach.
Yeah, good for Zach. Good for Carter. Might be one to hang on to now that you're saying it.
Yeah.
So, Caleb. Oh man, Caleb.
Caleb, talk about it.
Yeah, just start talking because I don't have words.
So right now I'm the lowest scoring team in the league
by a decent margin.
Yep, and I am 3-2. And if Korf would have beaten Dan this week, I would be that 4th team in the playoff spot.
God, so Caleb's got a horseshoe up his ass this last calendar year.
Yeah, see, that's the thing that blows my mind is last year was not well documented as a very lucky season, 8-6. And this year it's like the same thing but worse. Like he's much worse than he was.
Yeah, we expected a luck regression, but he's just getting more lucky.
Yeah, no, just the luck factors really aren't there yet because of the there's not the records aren't close to being finalized, but we can still learn something from them. And Caleb is well ahead in the luck factor standings right now. So if we needed any proof, Caleb is definitely the luckiest team this season. And 3-2, it's pretty crazy stuff to see a team scoring 123 points a game. Let's put this into context, all right? So the worst team in Webb history, which went 3-11 and was somehow the luckiest team ever, scored 120.2 points a game.
So Caleb's one above that and already has 3 wins.
He's 3 points a game above that team, the worst ever, and he already has the 3 wins.
Worst ever and luckiest ever. That team should have had 0 wins.
Right. No, it was literally the statistics say that Tim should have won 1 game that season. So, yeah. And I mean, the Owen, he's scoring less than the 0-14 team that he inherited from Judy. So
it's what we call regression and a rebuild. You don't like to see that, man.
Yeah. Well, talk about it, Caleb.
I don't know. Everyone's underperforming. That's been the story of this year. Mari, the Amari Pooper thing didn't work.
Apparently, we got a rebrand here. Am I seeing?
Yeah, did you just update it? We are now. I picked this guy up a few weeks ago after Greg Olson went out, and I'm undefeated when he's in the starting lineup. So we've rebranded to Honey Funtus of Oats. We got a nice little picture here. So hopefully the Funtus train will get us back on track. I don't really know.
As long as we're talking about people doing good who were on my roster who are now not on my roster, let's talk about Devin Funchess.
Yeah, let's just remember who jumped on the Funchess train like all of last year, and then I just was like, wow, he's still fat and stupid.
Hey, I had him for 3 days.
Right? Oh, okay. You know what? You're right.
Like I already there's been a lot of ad drops already this season. But I remember Mingo was like trying to say like, what if it's his year? I don't remember where we were. I'm pretty sure we were in the Brock basement. Like I'm like, dude, it's over. He's never gonna be the one.
No, it was in McDonald's. I very clearly remember this conversation.
Yeah,
I was very excited.
It's in a McDonald's. First, I declared Funchess back.
Yeah, so Funchess, I guess. Mari's dead. I just got a trade offer right now from Parker, who said, I'll trade you 2 fourths for Cooper. So that's where that's at.
Wow.
Yeah, other than that, maybe we'll get some Evan Ingram big games with the Giants being dead at the receiver. So,
yeah, that's something that you can kind of maybe hope for going forward here.
I still feel like the potential is there. If they put it together, we can make a run, and we're sitting at 3-2. Like if everyone gets back to what they should be doing, it'll be fine. But if it's stupid.
That exact phrase, doing what they should be doing, is what haunted me for the entirety of last season. And I went, 5-9, but
you got Fournette out of it, man.
Yeah. So you take it for what it is, but this Amari Cooper thing's really driving me nuts because, it just doesn't make sense. And
damn yips, man. He's got the yips.
Like I look at your starting lineup, and it's like it's not great. Like it's not like really really good, but it's good enough that it should not be the lowest scoring team. That is for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Let's see what happens. It's tough though, because like I want to like sell some of these guys off or anything, but they're all doing so bad, and like it doesn't even pay to. I don't have a first next year, so it's not like I'm trying to lose games or anything. So. I don't know. Weird times, but we'll take it where we're at. Maybe we'll see better days going forward. I still got the Pac-5 to run through. So
yeah, I mean, you never know what's going to happen. If Webb's proven anything, that is true. So, yeah, it's been a weird year. Obviously, we have the hashtag Keep It Weird, and I think week 5 was just another week of weirdness. We had the scandal. We had some weird decisions in our games. We had some more injuries, huge injuries. But yeah, we're going to keep it moving. Keep it moving on to week 6. Got some lightning round predictions for you.
Whoop.
So we'll start with some Big 5 matchups. We got a Korf and Carter game. So obviously I'm coming off my first loss of the year, but Carter coming off a sub-100 performance. Do we see any funny business happening here?
What do we got? Bye week.
I promise everybody that I will start a cornerback this week. So keep that in mind.
Keep it. Oh, yeah. I'll take you then.
Thanks.
I'll take Mingo.
All right, I'll also take myself. Second Big 5 game then is Dan and Kelvin.
I think Dan's gonna keep it rolling to 4-2. Dan's hot. He's hot.
Yeah, Dan is hot.
Yeah, definitely Dan.
Yeah.
Got a pretty big difference in the projections here.
The 47-point line here.
1-5. If that would happen, 1-5 for Kelvin. That's pretty. I would be well.
I didn't think it was gonna be that bad.
Yeah, Judy went 0-14 after being in a title game. So I was just about to say, like, is this going to be the worst year ever for a team after the title game? No.
It'll never be broken.
And then, so Pac-5 then, we have a Brock and Josh matchup.
Brock.
I always pick myself.
I know you do.
I picked myself.
I think that it's definitely worthy this week. Yeah, I'll pick Brock as well. And our second Pac-5 game then this week is Tim and Caleb. So this is kind of interesting. Technically the top 2 teams in the Pac-5, but
give me that game of the week.
Game of the week.
That would be 4 for Tim in 6 weeks.
So Tim is starting. He's either going to have to pick up someone off the wire or he's starting Mr. Trubisky.
Ooh.
This
is a week.
Buys.
If I can put it together this week, Zeke has a bye and Odell's dead. This could be the week we put it back on the map.
Oh, yeah. No, Zeke. Yeah. Tim, it's already Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. and you haven't set your lineup, bro. Russell Wilson has a bye.
First thing I do when I wake up Tuesday morning. Like,
we're getting dangerously close to no tolerance.
Yeah. Strike one, baby.
That's
2 points.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. Oh man. That is kind of it makes it interesting with the situation, but I will pick Tim in this one.
I'm gonna go Caleb.
Yes. I'm going with myself. And this is the week. People, just watch.
All right. Crabtree versus Cooper, part 2 already this season.
Should I bench Cooper? You know, Parker benched Cam and he started doing good. Like, do I?
I mean, nobody could fault you for doing that.
Yeah,
but
yeah, you should bench.
Maybe here, Caleb. Here's what's going to happen. All right, I'm going to save you the trouble. Let's make a trade after this, and we'll you can go from there then.
All right, sounds good.
All right. And then our inter-conference game of the week,
brought to you by Quick Trip.
Brought to you by Quick Trip. Stop in, check out the hot spot today, now on Highway 67. We have Parker and Dave. So
Parker.
Let's just for the sake of it, let's look at the all-time data on this, because there's some of these Dave. Oh nope, never mind. Parker 5-0 against Dave all time.
Huh.
Will he get to 6-0? This is one of the only matchups left that has a undefeated implication.
Also, according to ESPN projections, Parker has the edge at every position but cornerback.
Well, that'll do it. That's the one.
So yeah.
Oh god.
Oh, I'll take Gaylord Park.
Yeah. Give me Parker.
5-1 for the 2-time defending Big 5 champion.
Makes me really sad that Hopkins and Adams are carrying his team.
Yeah.
It's okay, man. It was just remember, Hopkins is I have no idea what the first 4 weeks were, but week 5 was an Allen Robinson week. Just remember that.
Yep.
So I still want Allen. Carter, let's talk. Okay. We did have some questions this week. I managed to tweet it out at like 10 o'clock or something because I knew what was in store for today. So let's check those out real quick.
What's the question reader? Caleb?
Oh, I can.
Oh, he doesn't have the thing though. He's not on the Twitter.
Here, I got him. Caleb, is that okay?
Yeah.
Is that okay, honey? Just for this week, all right?
Okay.
Okay. So the first question was from Dan. He asked, well, I mean, it wasn't really a question. Points against history for top teams, particularly Parker. So this is something that we had discussed, I think, just within ourselves at some point. But the points against for the top scoring team each season has been strangely consistent as like the lowest points against. So you have your highest scoring team that is facing the least amount of points, and that has happened each of the last 3 seasons.
Really?
Yes.
What?
I
So-
would see that. Yeah, I could see that happening more often than not, but it is kind of weird that it's happening every year.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's just really like I'm not sure like how you could even explain that, because
Part-
obviously you're
Partly, you're not
Tops-
playing the highest scoring team at all, which is yourself.
that's true.
So that has somewhat to do with it. I wouldn't expect that to make it happen every year, though.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So in 2013, the lowest points against team was actually it was Cody / Judy. So the team that faced the lowest amount of points still had a negative 151.4 points differential. So
I remember
what
that. That was,
wasn't great.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, but after that, it has been consistently the highest scoring team. And I thought that maybe I had a mistake where I had something sorted wrong and the values were not in the right spots, but it is in fact true. The 2014 Brock team, the 2015 Dan team, and the 2016 Parker team all had the lowest points against for their seasons.
That's weird.
So very interesting. Quick update on this season. Let me pull that up real quick. The current leader in points against, or the team with the fewest points against, I should say, is Parker Brock. So, yeah, Parker Brock 4-1, lowest points against this season.
That helps. Helps a lot.
Does help. So, yeah, kind of strange stuff, but all right. And the last question of the week then comes from Tim. How thankful we are to have Tim's insightful questions.
And
How
very
many?
calm demeanor in every scandal.
Oh yes, no swearing ever.
Nope.
Very Christian morals.
Yep.
How many Ulshan trades has the league denied from Caleb in the last 2 weeks?
I can't attest for everyone else, but I have denied 0. Wait, I maybe have denied 1.
I think we talked about it once.
Yeah, it wasn't denied. I said we'll talk later because it was like during a game.
Yeah.
We haven't talked later yet, so I'm gonna count that as 0.
So I mean, you just kind of ruined it, but I'm gonna still say that I made a flow chart, and it says, "Are you in Web.com as an owner?" And if the answer is yes, then it is also a yes that you have declined an Alshon Jeffrey trade offer at some point this season.
Whatever.
I mean, I can say personally that yes, I have in the last 2 weeks. Multiple times.
Okay, here's the sales pitch once again. Cornerbacks Alshon has faced in the first 5 weeks of the season: Josh Norman, Marcus Peters, Janoris Jenkins, and Patrick Peterson. Oh, and Casey Hayward. First 5 weeks faced off against elite corners.
Well, sound good.
Sounds like you should keep them then.
I know, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm like, but you buy them now before it gets really good, guys.
So
Mm-hmm.
the conversation between Caleb and
Has
I.
Alshon been facing elite cornerbacks the last 3 years? 2 years?
No, because he's been playing the Packers twice a year.
That's true.
So the conversation between Caleb and I was regarding an injured ACL-less Dalvin Cook. Let's keep in mind that I did not start these conversations because I love Dalvin.
I gotta get in on that.
So step off. But
And my plan is to get
Are
Dalvin.
you talking to me?
I'm not talking to anybody about Dalvin. People are talking about Dalvin to me. But No, I
Talk
It was like-
Delvin to me, baby.
That's great. But yeah, no, Caleb was like, "Hey, you want Alshon?" And I was like, "I've traded for Alshon once with a running back that fit the Dalvin Cook profile, and I hated myself and almost committed suicide / left the league because of it. So I'm not doing it again."
We'll revisit that in 3 weeks.
All right.
When's the trade deadline? What did we decide on?
I think it was week 10 we decided. Like that's like a standard.
Oh, can we move it back one?
Like to week 9.
No, to week 11.
Oh, sorry.
Wait.
Whatever.
12, 13, 14. Like 3 games after it. Feels like a good. I don't care.
I feel like 10 is like pretty late in the year already, and it's just kind of like
All right.
you set yourself
All right,
up for
fine.
that last 4 games.
Man, can't wait for
All
the
right,
trade
that works.
deadline. That's always
Yep.
just the most fun week of my life.
I
It's like
remember
look
last
forward
year.
to every year.
Hey, we made a big one last year.
Yeah, made a lot of big ones.
Yeah,
Some good, some bad. That's how you play the game.
it's true. How was it? I feel like I was just gonna say something, man, but damn
You're
it.
drunk off your ass.
No, shut up. Yeah. All right. Well,
Yeah, we're at an hour 5-ish, and I got a full ass bladder, man.
all
Same.
right. Well, yeah. I mean, I expected it to run a little bit longer with the scandal stuff, but I'm sure everybody enjoyed it. So it's over now, so we can all smile and hug each other again, hopefully.
Mhm.
So, yeah. Any last words on week 5?
Not from me. Let's ride.
Right.
Yeah.
Boyos.
Make it a good week. I'll for sure do power ranking. Power rankings will get done this week, everybody. I need
Perfect.
a week of blurbs.
It's all right. We understand. Right, Tim? We understand.
I just want to bring my best blurbs forward.
All
That's
right.
we ask.
All right, fellas. Let's make it a great week 6 and rest of the season.